so hundreds of people may have been exposed. He crossed the U.S.-Mexico border 76 times in the past year, but not with drugs or guns. Some say this man was concealing something potentially more dangerous. So how many people could a TB outbreak affect in this country?
You could infect potentially thousands of people. It starts with a couple getting infected, they infect more, and it multiplies geometrically.
And so on and so on. His name is Amado Isidro Armendariz Amaya, and he's a businessman from Chihuahua, Mexico. Health officials say for 5 years he's been infected with MDR-TB, one of the most virulent and contagious forms of tuberculosis. In fact, health officials say both his father and his sister recently died of the disease in Mexico. Dr. Stephen Gardner is head of emergency medicine at New York's Methodist Hospital. Now, you're really not supposed to travel if you have this.
You should not be traveling if you have any major illness, whether it's the flu, whether it's SARS, or whether it's TB that's infective. Because when you're on a plane, you're in a closed space with passengers very close to you for prolonged periods of time. It's a setup to transmit this to the person next to you.
In fact, MDR-TB is the same form of tuberculosis that infected Andrew Speaker, the Atlanta personal injury lawyer who shocked the world earlier this year when he boarded a transatlantic flight despite dire warnings from European and American health experts. Speaker traveled once, Amaya 76 times, and Border Patrol officials say he was clearly trying to hide his condition. U.S. Customs and Border Protection was notified in April by health officials of an individual with TB who may have been crossing the U.S.-Mexico border. Officials, however, were not provided the correct name or date of birth for the individual because he was seeking treatment under an alias. Off the record, an official at CBP with intimate knowledge of the case say Amaya concealed his identity and condition to Mexican health officials so his travel wouldn't be restricted. The same official says Amaya traveled 21 times between April 16th and May 21st, including flights to Atlanta and Salt Lake City on Delta and to Phoenix on U.S. Air. So what should people do if they're worried they had contact with this guy?
They should go to their local doctor to tell the situation. Most people will not have a problem, but it's the people who were in proximity to him that would be most likely to be affected.
Guidelines from the Centers for Disease Control say patients with MDR-TB must not travel by plane, quote, under any circumstances. They say anyone who may have encountered Amaya or anyone who suspects they may have MDR-TB should contact their doctor. And of course, John and Heather, get tested immediately.
Douglas, 76 times. Are the feds going to do any better?
Unbelievable amount of times. You know, this is a very hard case because this guy, you know, they knew about this guy a month and a half before, but they had the wrong name and the wrong date of birth. And they say, you know, you can't find somebody if you don't know his name.
U.S. officials had the wrong name and the wrong date of birth.
Yeah, Mexico officials and U.S. officials.
So this becomes a license issue, too, so that when they're looking at his identification, they need to make sure that they're...
He lied to his doctors in Mexico, so they say there's no way you're going to be able to find the guy because TB, you don't look at somebody and know they have TB.
Okay, Douglas, I hope feds are using this as a test case to keep terrorists out and all of that. Thanks.